Pierce and Wayne, what's your view of that particular thing?
Yeah, I believe that there's no sort of real need at all to have longer kicks. You know, the players are forced to stay out there on the field for the same amount of time, and
longer periods of time.
Longer periods of time. So I reckon the kick should be completed in a much faster time.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, kickers now, knowing that the end of the end period, the length of the game doesn't matter because the time will be taken out, are just going longer all along. And I'll be doing some time and motion studies on the match today again, and I'll bet you we come up with some more information on that. Well, Wayne, the first loss yesterday for the season, would you say Balmain have been knocked off their pedestal?
Well, I think it's made us aware of the fact that we're not as good, or probably not as playing as well as sort of some of the reports in the papers had suggested. And I don't think it'll sort of do us too much harm at all in terms of the games that we've got coming up against Manly and East. I think it'll wake us right up. And
Wayne, I felt that your forwards let you down badly yesterday, both in defence and in attack. They were too wide. They were outside you as a lock forward. Your front row forwards were outside you. And what about those holes that both Johnson and Anderson went through, right through the middle of the ruck there? Surely there must be something said to your forwards about that.
Well, Frank, that's been a problem of ours all year. It's been our defence, and our defence as a unit. As individuals, you know, we were all pretty good defenders, but as a unit, we tend to leave gaps for the opposition to come through. Yeah.
And Wayne, you had a lot of success, 4 wins in a row. Did you have a little bit of complacency because Canterbury under strength, you know? Did you go on the field yesterday as a captain, not you, but players say, well, this is an easy game? Did that creep in at all?
I think subconsciously as a side we did sort of underestimate them, and I'm sure we won't take that attitude again this year.
Well, that was young Johnson, the hooker, involved in that try twice. Now, this is an interesting move, a crisscross move. Seems to be a planned one, was it?
Yeah, we've got that on our books. We try it every now and then. It's come off a couple of times.
You notice there was not one forward involved in that movement. I'm sorry to harp on it, but that was straight from the halfback, and there was just the backs, and I just wondered why you didn't use them more yesterday, Wayne.
Well, Canterbury upset us a little bit with their defensive pattern. They sort of defended really well against us, and we hadn't come up against that sort of defence this year and put us off our game a little bit, but I think we've learned a lot from that.
Are the side you've met this year, Wayne?
Yeah, they were the best side out of the games we've played, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Canterbury turned the corner, I thought, in their search for credibility in '83 with this one by convincingly defeating previously unbeaten Balmain Tigers 18-14. I thought they were ferociously led by Taz Batiri. I thought he had as good a game as I've ever seen him play. They sustained a great tackling effort to frustrate Balmain into 13-7 error count against you. There were a lot of passes went down, and despite a 13-8 penalty count in their favour, the Tigers, they only came alive in the second half. What did Frank Stanton say at half time?
Well,
that you can tell us.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell is that we realised that we had a strong wind behind us in the second half, and it was freshening, and we knew that if we could sort of maintain our pressure, and we knew that we're a fit enough, young enough side to keep to stay in the game, then we knew we were in it all the way. But we still let Canterbury through those gaps in the second half, and we just can't afford to do that.
And not only did they score tries, but they bombed a couple of tries too, you know, in that second half one, with the lock forward folks on one occasion, and then of course that one when Johnson went through, and he had 3 forwards alongside him, and they didn't capitalise on the reef.
What about that Greg Sankey performance at fullback for Canterbury Bankstown? Did you impressed with him, Col?
Well, I didn't see the game yesterday.
Well, have a look at this for a young lad playing, I think, his first grade game. Now watch him take this bomb in the end goal, running backwards, which is not an easy one to do, falling and taking it. That was a very good take. Yeah, here's another equally good take. So talk about Greg Brentnell. They've produced another very good one. There's another one, and gets back into the field of play. Yes. Watch this tackle on Lawson, midfield. Now, Lawson would have got a big bake, I think, from his supporters, Balmain supporters, for being allowed to be tackled, but I thought Sankey came in so quickly to him that he sort of nullified it. And look at this take.
Oh, well, where's he been hiding with Canterbury? He's played 100-odd games with the Canterbury
club.
Well,
they've got a very good player there in Sankey. That's one of the best debuts as a fullback I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was most impressed with the young bloke there. Yeah, good game.
The long break by Gould. Now, this indicates just how superior Canterbury were in the early part of the game. These sort of breaks right next to the ruck. Something should have come of this. He threw the dummy and was tackled by Jack, a good head-on tackle. And then shortly after, we had the same situation with Chris Anderson, who I thought kicked needlessly at this point. I'm pretty sure it wasn't on the 6th tackle. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But the kick was far too long and it eventually went over the dead ball line.
The idea was good, I suppose. The execution was poor, actually.
Yeah, but I would have thought the old thing is you get up and start again in a rugby league game if you tackle that.
Well, he had no one in front. I think it was a good idea to kick.
He didn't have his support there.
Well, take the tackle.
Yes, but even
You've
so,
got it shredded.
as a winger, you could expect to have more pace than a fullback turning around and chasing on. And had the kick been well directed, he may have scored a try.
Yeah, you gave me a couple of good ifs there. If he'd done this and if the kick had been well directed.
It's an explanation, though, Rex.
We were taught as juniors when I was a kid in rugby league, the great thing is that you can get up and start again. So why lose the impetus?
Rex, we were taught a lot as juniors in rugby league when you and I were little fellas that they don't do now.
Yeah, I think they were wearing, what were they wearing, sun hats and pith helmets and that's PITH helmets in those days too. The disallowed try to Gary Bridge. This was an interesting one. What did you think of it, Gary?
From my angle where I was, Rex, I was a fair bit downfield. I thought he did knock it on, but
knocked it into the end goal.
Yeah, but I thought there was a try that could have gone our way earlier on when was Greg Lane scored.
Yes, the referee was well positioned as an offside pass, not only forward but an offside pass, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what he ruled on.
That's what he ruled on. That was a beautiful movement by Balmain. It would have been a sensational try if it had come off. But this really is one of the most incredible incidents I've ever seen a first grade footballer with Stephen Folkes getting into the in goal area. See it from the different angle and the great tackle there of Hardwick to dispossess him of the ball. Now he's over the line now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paces further on. He's given a real serve in the tackle. I mean, it was a very hard tackle, a swivelling tackle.
An excellent tackle, that one from
Wasn't
Kevin
it a beauty?
He's only 12 stone too, a second rower, and to sort of make that sort of effort was outstanding.
I don't think Folkes would do that sort of thing again. He tried to beat the opposition in the in-goal area, which is very dangerous.
The ball away there, Frank.
That's right. Let me just loosely for a start, Cole, but I mean, going over the line and coming on an angle was bad football.
Let me just say this in conclusion. I thought Ted Glossop did a fine job. He's had a lot of criticism this week. And when you think he was without Brentnell, Gary and Mark Hughes, Steve Mortimer and Andrew Farrer, who was a late dropout, and had a new captain, Taz Batiri, and the replacement young Davies and Greg Sankey both played marvellously.
And to beat an unbeaten side in Balmain.
And I thought they went out with the object of stopping Philippina, Pearce, Jack and Bridge, and I thought you were all a little bit subdued in attack.
Yeah, they did bustle us, and I'd like to commend Taz Batiri. I thought he did an excellent job for us yesterday.
Well, one captain to another, that's very nice. Parramatta and Norths from last week played at a very green, grassy, beautiful, lovely, soft surface of North Sydney Oval. Frank, you used to play on this ground in the days gone by. Was it ever a good ground?
Every bit of green you see is where I've bled.
all the fertiliser over the years. A couple of very good performances in this match with that young Spina. I think he's the most damaging player on the field in the tape that I saw. He made any fast burst, was a top player. His try after a great break from McKinnon and Brockwell was an absolute gem. The Eels got back into the game with a try to hunt from a Taylor bomb, but they had been comprehensively outplayed in the first half by a tireless and skillful Bears team. I use those two adjectives advisedly. Parramatta's eventual win was sealed only by a bit of sustained handling we're able to put together, and this is it coming up now as Taylor finally gets the pass away to hunt for him to go in for his second try. Let me just reiterate, watching the tape, the full tape of this game on 2 occasions, I clearly come away with the opinion that Norths were the better team.
They're magic in the wet. They just seem to pick themselves right up. I don't know if it's psychologically or what, but
they can pick themselves up. Another team lets them feathers get a bit wet, don't they, for Manly?
And you'd be always happy when North Sydney did well, being an old North Sydneyanian.
As a matter of fact, I think they'd be much happier with the 2 points and being the worst side than losing the 2 points and being the better side.
They've always had that great ability to lose a game, haven't they?
That's right.
Out of the game, we had some interviews that Barry Ross did, and John Hayes, the coach of, I must say, the long-suffering coach, I shouldn't say that, but he may be that way before the end of the year. John Hayes was asked if he was disappointed that North played so well and didn't get the points, and the fact that his forwards dominated in the wet conditions. He had this to say.
Barry, unfortunately, that's the only thing you get paid for is winning, and we're very pleased with the players' effort, but very disappointed in the end result naturally.
Well, in the conditions, your forwards, I felt, dominated the play.
Well, that's been our problem. The forwards haven't been playing particularly well. We haven't had a lot of luck. We've lost a key forward every game early in the match. Today we had our full pack in, or the best pack we can put on the field at the present time, and I thought they were magnificent. I was very pleased and not disappointed in one forward or one player for that matter.
Mark Graham, who's been out, had his injury problems this year, was asked about playing against Penrith today and whether he was over those injury problems.
Well, you know, they're a very good side, and I hear they beat Manly, so, you know, we're expecting another hard encounter. Let's hope we can get the 2 points this time.
And what about your injury problem? You're over that now and you're back in the North Sydney
Certainly
side?
Hope so, yeah. 2 years with North so far. I've played 50 games in this season, you know, I've only played half of one and then the whole one today.
That's right. Mitchell Cox is probably a player that's received more criticism than most this year in various areas, and Barry had a yarn with him about his problems.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm only one in 13 players, and the team hasn't been performing that well. But today, you know, they stuck to their guns. They tackled real well. They, you know, played very well, and therefore I'm playing better myself.
Is there any justification in people criticising you, saying you've lost some speed from last year?
Well, I don't think so. I've put on a bit of weight, and maybe I have lost a bit of speed, but I don't think I've lost my form. Maybe I've lost a bit of pace, but I don't think I've lost that much form.
He's up to about 11 stone now. I guess he put on a bit of weight. Neil Hunt, who was the scorer of 2 tries on the wing for Parramatta, was asked about the reasonable handling from both sides in such bad conditions and how well Norths had played.
Yeah, it was, you know, the ball wasn't too bad early, but near the end it was so slippery, it was unbelievable. Mick Cronin, you know, he was just running with the ball and he spilled it. It was just like a cake of soap. And
North Sydney, they played very well to really put the pressure on you guys today.
They're a good team. They'll worry a lot of teams. Like last week down at Canberra, anyone's going to get the struggle against Canberra down at their home ground, but, you know, under these conditions today, they played real well.
And another one, the enigmatic Jack Gibson was asked why he switched Ella and Kenny. Listen to this.
Well, Brett wasn't playing any good at fullback. That's why I switched him.
And when Steve went to fullback, he was allowed to come into the back line when you had the ball and be back in these terrible conditions when they had the ball.
Well, I wanted some more action from in that area, and he was puttering around there trying to dodge raindrops.
No comment. Ray Price was asked if they missed Peter Sterling at halfback.
Well, yeah, we did miss a little bit of organisation there, but Paulie Taylor went well. I don't really think it was that position that we missed. I think everyone was just reluctant to do their job. You know, I don't know if it... Well, the weather is an equaliser. I don't care who it is. You know, remember last year we flogged Eastern Suburbs in the wet weather. But, you know, it is... I really believe weather is an equaliser. Norths played very well.
All right, on to Penrith and Manly last week, and surely nobody could have been prepared for that result. The Penrith kicking tactics and the power tackling of the Penrith forwards dominated the game, and it was a domination by 26 points to 4. Levy's kicking in general play was a constant threat to Manly, while the ferocious first-time tackling of the Panthers forwards killed any hopes Manly had. They bunched badly in attack and were penalised repeatedly for infringements of the 5-yard rule. Manly's form, I think, was fairly consistent with the displays they've frequently given in the past in treacherous conditions, and they did have a horrendous penalty count of 23-11 against them, and I dare say even the Kangaroos might have had trouble in winning a game with that sort of penalty count.
Yeah, we had similar counts to that overseas, but you don't really see that over here all that often.
No.
Yeah.
But you still won the matches, though, despite the penalty counts, Wayne.
Yeah, well, then again, as I said, the opposition in some cases wasn't all that crash on.
But I tell you what, the penalty count had nothing to do with that lack of defence there, Rex.
Yes, quite. Nobody's making excuses. Nobody's making excuses at all. I indicate the bad defence from a replay of Platz's try. Yeah. If you have a look at it, he goes through a halfback, Thompson, and a 5'8", Sigsworth. Yeah. Now the next question is, where was a forward? Exactly. So it's all very well for a 16-stone forward to beat an 11-stone halfback and so forth. You expect that, but you expect also a 16-stone forward to be in front of a 16-stone forward, don't you? So that was a pretty bad performance. Now, as a result of that match, Max Krilich has made a reappearance in the Manly first grade side, not as captain, but as he was the successful captain of the Kangaroos, it's reasonable to conjecture whether, if he continues in first grade, whether he would be the Kangaroo skipper. Now, I asked Max this week about being dropped to reserve grade, and he had this to say.
Well, I'd say it was possibly the most disappointing aspect from my football career, yes, Rex.
Well, you kept your dignity throughout it. There weren't any outbursts in the press or in the media about what you were going to do and what you weren't going to do.
No, Rex, I kept a low profile on it. All I said that I was going to train very hard, play the best football that I could possibly do, and hopefully make first grade.
Is there any animosity between you and Ray Brown, the fellow that took your place?
No, not at all. Ray congratulated me for making first grade, as I did when he made first grade.
There were suggestions that you might have been out of the favour with Bob Fulton. Would you say that that's the case?
Well, I don't think that was actually the case. It's, the treatment was at the beginning. Whoever played in the grand final side last year had the first go at it, and Ray performed quite well, and he got the spot.
Right. The conjecture about the captaincy of the Australian team. Which one of you gentlemen wants to go first?
As far as I'm concerned, Rex, whether he's playing reserve grade or first grade, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. It would please me if he was captain of the City side, the New South Wales side, and the Australian side in New Zealand.
Cool. I think his record entitles him at the grade 2 of 1982. He's entitled to be the captain again. Exactly.
Well, having played under him Rex overseas, I firmly believe he's the best captain I've ever.
Frank, no singing. You got the mail?
Yes, Chief.
Okay. He's got a nice voice, mind you, but not on this show. Right, Cronulla and St George from last week, and this resulted in a major upset, I think, in most people's eyes. Cole Pearce, would you agree with that?
Well, a major upset in one way. I suppose in other people's eyes it was a great thing for the Cronulla side, and they played particularly well. I thought the 2 points at the end of the game was not a clear dispute of the way the teams. Either was a 10-point margin, should have been a clear indication of the game. The way they played Cronulla, I thought it was a case of one team putting the tactics of the wet weather tactics. Terry Fearnley telling his players to go out there, well directed by their captain Gavin Miller. A magnificent display of wet weather football. St George, very disappointed with St George in the forwards, particularly their defence. They've got the best defensive record in the competition, St George, but their attack up front is just not there at this stage.
It's there for 20 minutes a game. They just won't put it together.
Not there at all.
We saw Reddy there go in for a try, typical of how he played in England.
Have a look at it again.
How much of it do we see? We only saw that.
That's it.
That was all in the whole game.
Correct. That's all we saw. We saw a good try with Johnson, Brian Johnson, the wing, but nothing from the forwards up front, Frank.
Well, they ploughed through the mud to pick up $60 a man after tax for their strong 14-12 win over the St George side. I thought Gavin Miller was the man behind the win. I watched the match on tape. Miller used long kicks and short kicks to continually turn St George around, and St George obviously don't like the business of turning around and having to reposition. Cronulla seemed to be more determined on the day, as is often the case when a club has major problems, as you'll be aware. And they're a very financially embarrassed club. Steve Rogers at centre for St George was back at his old form for the first time in his new colours, and on the St George performance he may have wished that he never left the Cronulla side.
Rex, the Sorensen boys played very strongly, both of them, and of course they're without Dane today, you know.
Yeah, Dane, there's only one worry in there. It was the goal kicking though, Frank. 3 out of 7, that's a problem for Cronulla. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's a problem.
Well, the smallest crowd I've seen, 1,365 people at Lidcombe Oval to watch Newtown and Western Suburbs go around last week. This was a sad thing. The ground was saturated but beautifully grassed. A long stoppage in the opening minute for a back injury to Newtown lock Paul Morris held up play for a hell of a long time. The first try of the match came from a brilliant kick and chase by halfback Scott Gale, who forced an error from Mark Bugden and gave the ball to winger Broughton to score. The tragedy is this young potential star Gale broke his arm later and is out for some time. Ferguson's try there for Newtown shortly after was disgusting defence by the West forwards. He'd run from dummy half and should never have been allowed to score. Ron Sigsworth's try was made by a good pass from 5'8" Michael Speechley, who impressed me a lot in the 2 games I've seen him play. The second Broughton try made it 12 all. We missed that try. The cameraman had a bit of rain on the lens. But Battersea and Batiste and Bugden received 10 minutes in the sin bin after an eruption of no consequence. Wilson kicked the goal to make it 14 all, and that was the end of the scoring for the day. And it's weird how easy it is for a footballer to be injured. Now, I'll just show you this. Young Scott Gale, I've known him since he was only a wee lad. Very talented player. Watch him now. We'll show it in slow-mo too. He's number 7. He tackles Ron Sigsworth, and his arm was broken then, at that point. Now, watch him get up and walk back, knowing that something's gone, holding his arm badly. Now, in slow-mo, just look at the ease of it, the simplicity of it. Sigsworth falls on his arm is what happens. At that point there. And he pulls the arm out, knowing something's gone straight away. And that is the simplicity. Now, a guy could play another 200 first-grade games, do 5,000 tackles like that and never hurt himself at all.
Yeah, you're involved in those sort of tackles all the time. Yeah. It's a matter of life.
Well, you got through 20 tackles in the first half yesterday's match and about another 20 in the second half, I would think. 40 tackles, did you... There's no sign of any injury around the arm?
No injuries at all.
It's just one of those... when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not.
Lee Bridget break a telegraph pole, and that's what it's all about.
Right,
What was that one?
If you missed it...
You don't repeat it, do you? I missed that. Must have if you had ears like mine, you'd have dodgy arcers too, you know. Frank, I used to put my head in scrums, not like you standing out around the back. You were a gay centre. I shouldn't have said that. The word gay these days got a different connotation.
A bright centre.
A bright centre, yeah. Anyway, if the cap fits, wear it.
What's the name of your solicitor again?
I'll give it to you straight away. Can we make a settlement on camera? All right, Canberra and Wests from last night. Now, this was, you're going to see some pretty useful football in this match too, in front of about 11,000 people down there. Not there, because a try, I think you'll find, comes from this.
Yeah, eventually. It was the only mistake he made all night, that fellow too, the full-back, Stevie O'Callaghan. Had a good game, the same fellow, Rex. Played very well indeed. Took a lot of bombs later on under a lot of pressure, this fellow.
Yes, I think you find Bevan as it goes in and scores around the...
scored the try, first try for Western Suburbs eventually.
There he is, from lock forward, after the...
There were some good tries scored, Rex. Good tries, particularly from Western Suburbs.
9 tries in the match, 6 to wing 3 quarters, 3 to Fay, 1 to Blacklock, 2 to Broughton,
Yeah.
And you'll see some very good strong play from Percy Knight too, who's got a very good combination with O'Sullivan now, a little halfback who I think is his brother halfback going around.
This is Blacklock.
Very promising halfback, yeah.
This fellow's not a bad foot. Batisi, that was a good try to Blacklock too, by the way. Put them back into the game at half-time, but they were behind at half-time, 14 points to 8. And not playing too well in the first half, but Don Ferner had a few magic words at half-time, I'd imagine. They came out and played for the 20 minutes. They played excellent football in that second half of the match and clinched the game.
Well, a major credit, I thought, had to go to the Canberra forwards, Cole.
Oh, played particularly well.
Played particularly well. Grant, Hardy, Hoffman, Gilbert. Bacco is a bit of a surprise too. I haven't seen him go around.
No, he's from Cairns. Had a season in Cairns last season and back again to Canberra this year, and certainly went around and done a lot of tackling last night. Tremendous defence.
He used to beat then if coming from Cairns, wouldn't he?
Be a good place to be coming from, wouldn't it?
Well, he formerly came from Canberra area down that way and went to Cairns last year and back again. But played particularly well.
And there's one of the Fay tries.
Well, he got 3 tries and, of course, 2 kicking the ball through like it was George Best.
But on error of the opposition.
Yeah.
But it's sad to see, as one of our cameramen tries to knock the set over, it's sad to see a try scored like this. Watch the Spears try, because he had nobody standing in front of him to mark him.
Yeah.
And that was just a lay-down invitation to play the ball forward and pick up a try so easily. It's sad to see West not able to combat that sort of thing.
He had a good second half. Oh, Western Suburbs played well. There were a lot of mistakes in their football too, Rex. I mean, both sides had a lot of mistakes. Indeed, as Don said last week, they could have scored more tries against South. And indeed, last evening, they should have scored more tries against Western Suburbs. And the same goes for Western Suburbs.
Yep.
A lot of handling errors.
Anyway, happy for Don Ferner and unhappy for the Western Suburbs coach.
And it's a great ground down there too, the Seaford Oval. It's the first time I broadcast down there. Beautiful lighting and the service magnificent. Great ground. And
Did you come back this morning or last night?
This morning, Rex.
I thought you might have walked back.
No, I didn't walk back. I was here on time. What's up with you?
OK, Barry Ross, let's go to him now and find out. I think there's a number of changes. Let's see what they are.
Thank you very much, Rex. I'm glad this is not a fashion show, because Wayne Pearce is wearing the same tie as I am. Wayne, that's not that night out we had in Toulouse, is it?
I think we got it from France, yeah.
Yes. OK, firstly, the St George Illawarra game. St George, there are no changes. Illawarra, Craig Treneman is in for Wayne Springall at lock forward, and there's a very big doubt about John Doré playing for Illawarra. Parramatta and South. Parramatta, David Lydiard and Peter Sterling both out, and Will Harris and Gary Phillips in. South Sydney, no changes. Eastern Manly, in for Eastern Suburbs is Graham Atkins, and David Michael, dropped for not being on time at training, is out. Manly, bit of a team reshuffle there. Phil Blake is out. Chris Close stays in the centres. Zigbert to 5'8", Alan Thompson to halfback. Newtown and Cronulla. Newtown, Gary Stairs in. On the Newtown side, firstly, Jeff Coburn is out, one of the 7 forwards to drop out to leave the 6-man pack. Now Cronulla, Dane Sorensen out yesterday at training, and Gary Stairs in there, and Gavin Miller, I believe, will be the goal kicker for Cronulla. And the last game, North and Penrith. North Sydney, out Don McKinnon, in Steve Mayo at front row, and for Penrith, Brad Izzard is out of the centres, and Paul Yanane comes in there. Back to Rex.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Well, there you've heard the ins and outs, and that'll give you a better idea of who's what the lineups are at home. So we'll see what the panel think about things here. We'll get, I think we'll get your opinion first, mate, because you've got your game out of the way, and you don't have to arbitrarily say Balmain will win, as all players do. So we'll get you out of the way, and with a bit of a reason for the St George and Illawarra game at Cogra. Do you think the Illawarra side have got the strength to go on with it?
I think St George will be doubly determined after last week's effort, and I'm sure they'll come up with the points.
All right, Frank?
I'll say St George, because it looks as though Dorothy will not play. He's had an operation during the week, and if he wasn't fit yesterday, he's not fit today.
Yeah, right.
He's got to go for St George, but I'd like to see it, and I'm sure the Roy Mars would like to see an improvement up front. There's no doubt about it. Perhaps you get it this afternoon.
Yes, it's inexplicable to me with the lineup they've got, how I've seen every tape of every game they've played this year and sat through it in full, and the lack of effort by some of the players on the side for long periods of time worries the life out of me, because St George used to be a club that was just built on effort. It was 100% effort all the time.
And they only got one forward, yes.
Graham Wynn.
Graham was the only one out.
All
right, well, we've just put the mocker on St George. We've gone full love for St George. Parramatta and South Sydney. Now, South Sydney were the side that beat Parramatta twice last year.
That's right.
Bear that in mind, Wayne. They've been going bad this year.
That's why I've been thinking about this game. I've got a feeling that South's going to put a lot of pressure on Parramatta today, and I think it'll be a close game personally. And I'd probably go for Parramatta because of their record so far this year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see South get on.
All right, we won't let you sit on the fence. You're going for a Parramatta.
Parramatta, yeah.
What about you, Frank?
Well, I only allow one upset in a round, and that upset was yesterday, so I'll go for Parramatta to beat South.
Yes, I'm going for Parramatta.
Yeah, with major halfback problems, Sterling and Taylor both out. It's they're bringing up young players, but nonetheless, Parramatta side, you would think on a dry ground would be able to handle I think, a fairly disappointing South Sydney side who don't appear to be able to score tries.
That's right.
All right, well, again, we've just put the mocker on Parramatta, 4-love. East and Manly, I don't think we'll be so unanimous on this one. And Blake's out of the Manly side. He's a big attacking force. What's your view there?
Yeah, I like the look of East pack. They've got a lot of strength up front, and although Manly's got a good pack and a good set of backs to go with it, at the sports ground, I think East might just shade Manly.
All right, Eastern Suburbs to win that one. Frank?
I go for Manly to win it. Overall strength. East played well to beat Canterbury last week, and we can't forget what they did to Manly last time they played, and I don't think Manly will forget it either. That 44-2 or something.
Yes.
So I think Manly have the strength to do it on a dry day.
Cool.
Yeah, I think they've got a tackler back today too, Manly, that they missed. My word.
Yeah.
It means a lot to the Manly side too. It does a tremendous lot of defensive work, and I think it'll be a great game just the same, and East are well in the match, but I'm going for Manly on a dry ground at the sports ground.
Yes, a comment I'd like to make about is the improved form of Russell Gartner, the centre playing for Eastern Suburbs, formerly with Manly as a junior. I think he's playing the best football I've seen since 78.
There's several clashes of game against for East and for Manly.
Mike Eden.
Playing against each other,
Yeah, exactly.
Noel Clell and Kerry Bastian.
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly it's been a big build-up to this game. I go for Manly because there's been no heavy dew on the ground.
No rain.
No rain. So, but if there'd been a heavy dew, I might have gone the other way. So how were we even? We're 3-1 there, were we?
I go for Manly.
We three going for Manly. So Wayne has gone the other way. Newtown and Cronulla, interestingly, out of this game was the fact that they've selected this young Andrew Ettinghausen, who is of German extraction as fullback, only 17 years of age. He was interviewed this week about being in first grade, and he was fairly modest about the whole business, and I hope he has a good game today. We got that one? No interview there with Andrew Ettinghausen. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure his mum and dad will be a bit disappointed. Anyway, we tried. OK, let's see who's going to win that one. Newtown and Cronulla? What?
Cronulla, I think.
Cronulla?
Cronulla for mine.
Yes, I'm going for Cronulla,
Yeah,
despite the loss of Dane Sorensen.
Yes, I think it's anyone would be